Disraeli has lately favored the public with a work which he calls a dissertation on antidotes, in which the following heavy charge on the late Miss Macaulay is to be found. I shall not dismiss this topic without seizing the opportunity it affords, disclosing to the public an antidote which should have been hitherto concealed from it. When some historians meet with information in favor of those personages whom they may have chosen to execrate systematically, they employ forgeries, interpolations, or still more effectual villainies. Miss Macaulay, when she consulted the manuscripts at the British Museum, was accustomed in her historical researches, when she came to any passage unfavorable to her party or in favor of the Stuarts, to destroy the page of the manuscript. I find this extraordinarily interesting in some ways, and I'll say right now, that all these different correspondence that are taking place, Lady Vere, the Lady Wortley Montague, there's just a very strong undertone of Jacobitism. Lady Halifax is somewhere in there, just kind of buried in the background, kind of, you really have to read between the lines when you read these different manuscripts, and they're all kind of there. And here is someone named Miss Macaulay going to, I don't know who she is exactly, I'd love to find out. Let's get back to this. These dilapidations were at length perceived, and she was watched. The Harleian manuscript 7379 will go down to posterity as an eternal testimony of her historical impartiality. It is a collection of letters. This manuscript has 3 pages entirely torn out, and it is not signed by the principal librarian. That on such a day the manuscript was delivered to her, and the same day the pages were found to be destroyed. Page 69, Disraeli, Dissertation on Antidotes. On the following of the number of Harley manuscripts to which she refers, the following memorandum is to be found. 12th November 1764, sent down to Miss Macaulay, signed E. Morton. E. Morton, in 1764, is Elizabeth Pratt, not Charles Morton. Right? Principal librarian of the British Museum was Charles Morton. His wife was Elizabeth Pratt in 17... Sorry. No. That's 1764, is that? That must be a misprint, because later on it has 1794. Let's look at this again. 1764, he was... I don't think he was even married to, I don't think he was even married to Lady Savile. This could be, if not a misprint, 1764, an indication of what? E, mean Earl Morton? I doubt it. No indication at all that he was any kind of Earl. That other thing with the Costa in it, well, that's kind of weak. Could be another wife, starting with the letter E. Mary Berkeley, which died in 1755. Okay. Let's just go back to this. Upon applying to Dr. Morton for further information on this subject, who is, I know, thank God, alive and well, he was kind enough to return the following very satisfactory answer. To the Reverend William Graham, number 72, Martin's Lane, Long Acre, London. Dear Sir, it's Twickenham, August 9th, 1794. This is written from the Montague and or Savile House. Having received your letter on the 8th instant, and having also examined the Harley manuscript, together with the present worthy keep the manuscripts, I find that the note inserted at the end, dated November 12th, 1764, does not contain any evidence that the 3 leaves wanting at the end were torn out by Miss Macaulay. On the contrary, it appears to me that the said 3 leaves were already wanting when the manuscript was sent down to the reading room for the use of Miss Macaulay. Your obedient servant, signed E. Morton. I think that's Elizabeth Pratt, and I also think that's that up there November. It's got to be 1764. So I don't know why it'd be signed E. Morton. I really don't, unless they misinterpreted the E as a C. Really wondering. Okay, so there we go. But there was some kind of stink Disraeli raised, a big stink, about a few pages in the manuscript. Here is Eliza Pratt inquires after his health as time draws near. Okay, this is 1779. This is 11 years prior to Elizabeth Pratt having married Dr. Morton. The basket was dedicated to the museum. Mr. Morton is to be a soldier. Dr. Morton intends putting him to Mr. Angeles to ride and fence, but he's not to go in the guards. Query whether Hewitt's area making contributions. Okay, so I don't know. Here is Lady Seville's gone to Twickenham and agitating about her watch. Miss Anderson must. Have you seen The Honorable Bride? Oh, whatever. Okay, this here is in the St. James Even Chronicle in October 12th, 1794. Okay, here we are. Republican historian. This is what they were talking about. The heavy charge for Mr. Colley, one of your paper. Had the testimony of Dr. Morton been as decisive as respectable, I should now have to retract my attention. But the letter is mysterious, for it is only said that the matter he rather thinks the Lees were wanting when the manuscript was sent to Miss Macaulay. As no memorandums are made in the manuscript which are sent these, I ask, why then is her name at all specified in the manuscript? It has been said that the stamp of the British Museum being on the last page proves that the manuscript had been originally received in this state. This decides nothing. When I discovered the singular note, I likewise received information from a quarter of undoubted authority. I was told that the female historian had acted thus more than once, and when accused, confessed it, and therefore refused further access to the museum. It's Disraeli complaining about a few pages ripped out of the manuscript. I'm not sure. Now, this is said to be a letter written by Dr. Charles Morton, 1763. So this would have been 4 years prior to his marriage to Lady Savile. He writes, "Dear sir, when I see the letter, the date of your letter to me, I am put in mind of a very great crime by me committed, for which I very sincerely ask your pardon. As a proof of my concern, I will be silent even from excuses, for why should I offer you that which has been not satisfy myself? Your son tells me today, and I think he had done it without thinking it necessary to each now, can't read it, that my further opinion would be appreciated. The advantage which you give me the pleasure to answer, you reviewed the opening natural tendency to, will encourage you to I can't even read this.
I'm not sure what that says. That came out of the Nottingham archives. Here is marriage notice of a Dr. Morton, fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, to Miss Payne, but that couldn't be true. I gotta throw that out because he wasn't a member yet. It could have been his father, but that seems too late. Then here is something written by William Graham with regards to that same manuscript. Here are some manuscripts of the Earl of Edgemont. Basically, in these manuscripts, here George Savile says that he's taken his wife, and that was in 1722, who had been discovered playing pranks with a neighboring gentleman, but she did as her mother, Miss Pratt, before her. Okay, so what else we got here? Okay, this is very interesting relationship to Mary Pratt. And this is a good argument against any money having come from Mary Pratt to buy the Irish estates. We just don't know where it came from. How could I ever know? He acquired the Irish estates. Let's get to this. Wednesday, the 21st, 1735, 6. George Savile came to me. Now, this would have been when, of course, Dr. Charles Morton was 19. With some circumstances of his unfortunate story, and advised me what to do. He said the woman's sex are generally against him, and they influence the man, except for very few whom he thinks proper to give satisfaction to, blah, blah, blah. He said he married Mrs. Pratt purely that he might have a virtual life with respect to women, and he was to have her £10,000, but was cheated on the half. Nonetheless, he treated her with all possible regard and affection until he discovered in her lividity a security of behavior that gave him much easiness for the consequences, though he had then no suspicion of her virtue, and therefore continued his endeavors to make himself agreeable to her. Thus he passed 12 years with her, and had several children by her, and as he found her continue to grow more light, reasoned with her the properness of her behavior, that it could not be agreeable to a fond husband and retired man as he was, nor could she escape the malice or scandal of the world she exposed herself to. Instead of reforming, she took this ill of him, and growing more humorsome, refused to bed with him, and not even when on the road, and with tears in his eyes he... Okay, so this has... I don't know, you can read more of this. This is from, again, manuscripts of the Earl of Edgemont, again, Google Books, and it's pretty much about a disagreement, and I was told his best way was to agree as soon as he could with his lady's friends what separation money to allow her. I said if he apprehended, I might suspend the affair till Parliament, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it seems like, there was going to be a divorce, and the there's Larry Mary Wortley just showing up. So just kind of wandering in, hanging out in the back of the room. We don't know why. Okay, right here. Is, God love it, I can't get a clear picture of it. Well, that is, okay, that's what it says. Charles Morton, Esquire, widower, Elizabeth Pratt. Both of this parish have married in this church. By me. It's signed by, it's hard to read. This is the marriage record that is the changer